Well, the Soweto Theatre is launching the newly revamped Jabulani Amphitheatre in style. A Legends tribute concert with Bra Sipho Hotstix Mabuse. The concert, which began with rehearsals this month, is set to feature some of the most iconic South African musicians such as Mam'Abigail Kubeka, Pappa and Blondie Makhene, Soul Brothers, Babsy, Mlangeni and PJ Powers, with Hotstix as a curator. It will take place on September 25th, coinciding with the Soweto Theatre's 10-year celebration. We are joined now by Ntate Hotstix Mabuse, Pappa and Blondie Makhene, to tell us more about how rehearsals are going and what patrons can expect come the 25th of September. A warm welcome to all our guests, our legendary and iconic guests joining us in studio today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us.
So the amphitheatre is finally here, newly revamped, and it's ready to take in audiences, especially after the couple of years that we've had with COVID-19, the pandemic itself. I mean, just take us through what this means for the Soweto Theatre and what it means for artists to be able to host an event of this nature.
Well, firstly, thanks to Newsroom and your viewers. You know, the Jabulani Amphitheatre is a very special, iconic venue. Probably three of us have performed at that venue,
100 million times.
Many times before, and we're pleased that it has been revived and it looks new, it's different, and. For me to have these musicians come on there to say we've been and we still are is very, very special. I was quite privileged to be requested to curate the show, and I knew the people that had made that space to be what it was then and what it could do for the space.
Yeah.
Henceforth.
So awesome.
Yeah. So I invited my colleagues, my brothers here, Blondie and his brother, and Soul Brothers. I would have really loved, Johnny Clegg's son, Jesse, and Sipho Mkhunu, Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, Mahotela Queens. These were the people, at the worst of times that were always at the Jabulani Amphitheatre. I'm grateful that PJ Powers is going to be there because she was part of that whole thing. So we're really looking forward to an exceptionally great show. I hope you guys have been rehearsing, by the way.
Yes. We've been rehearsing big time, and I promise you, man,
you're going to bring top-tier stuff.
Word.
The cream, man.
Cream de la creme.
This is the cream, man.
But
this is,
I want to ask Pappa and Blondie, about because the whole show really is centered around bringing back this music that was prevalent during the 80s. And that the Mabuse, you said that it's, it was the worst of times, but seemingly also the best of times.
Absolutely.
Right? So talk to us about that music. What was the je ne sais quoi about that music, that special sort of X factor about the 80s music that is still sung today, is still being played today? What was it about that music in the 80s?
No, I don't know what was it about that music, because some of the music I didn't like myself. It's like, what style is this, But it doesn't matter how you feel about the music.
It's about the
artistically.
People. Yes.
It's the people.
Right.
Yeah, that person that you think is not really that person. Uzongena stage akushaye gogo uphume lapho umanzi. So in time I learned to respect every genre. Being exposed to leadership of this commander Uputsips, he's always led me. I sometimes people think that we're brothers, but he's always been in the front of things, and his music style always influenced, I don't know, perhaps, but I know he's an American. But me, this commander, he gave me styles to think about. If you listen to my song, Communicate, you know, do you know the way to talk? Bum bum, poro poro papa. That's very Harare.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So those were the special bands that really, even today, they just make sense to me.
Right.
It's special. It's special.
Yeah, but I totally disagree with you when you say that I'm an American. That is the upbringing.
Yeah.
It's where you grew up, where you were born.
Yeah.
You know, when
like
in the family,
influences.
the influence,
Right,
the environment.
Yeah.
We grew up. Our sister, who's the eldest in the family, was a jazz singer.
Yes.
I mean, Big Brother knows about that. So you being a kid in the family, you know, you just listen to everything.
Right.
You just listen to everything that's been played on radio.
Yeah.
You know, your mom or dad or the Big Brother, he's the one that turns that the tuning, which station, and he's the one, or she's the one who buys the music. So she was into jazz, and that was an American music. She used to bring all these. So you know what I mean. So it got me.
So we get.
So it got me. The influence got me the bug.
Right. So maybe that's what it was about 80s music, right? That it was just this coming together of all kinds of genres, all kinds of sounds. Jazz, you mentioned, you know, Harare influences and other influences from East and West Africa, and that was the magic of the 80s music, was that it managed to, I suppose maybe even help South Africans escape the reality of that time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But the social issues around influenced how we reacted and responded to what was happening. And I think that music played a very critical role in that it was able to create a sense of belonging, you know, amongst us. For instance, part of this show is going to be what we're adding a group called the All-Rounders. Now, what a lot of people need to know is that only 3 members of that group are remaining. And 2 of them had left the country to become members of Umkhonto Wesizwe. And they are back to perform with Babsy Mlangeni, who remained behind. That is an incredible story that a lot of people need to understand, that you can actually give up the glory of what would have been at that time to say, I need to make music in a free country. They have come back to share their experience with those people.
That's incredible.
Absolutely.
The show itself is called Legends Tribute, right? If I'm not mistaken. And that speaks to the staying power of all 3 of you gentlemen, the staying power, the longevity that you've enjoyed as artists in this industry. Talk to us about that, you know, about what, you know, I guess maybe what it takes to create that kind of music that is able to resonate even today with a lot of people still listening. I mean, it's not easy to have names that are so recognizable even today. Across generations, because my parents were listening to your music, I'm listening to your music today. Many musicians and artists today are finding inspiration from what you deposited.
Absolutely.
So, you know, as legends, I mean, just talk to me about that.
Mina, when I am Kulu, one of the things that I appreciate, people have made me to appreciate this team. When we started off, one of our first songs was Going Home to My Mama. She gives me everything that I need. And then later on in the years, not even in the years, when Lucky Dube heard that song, Lucky Dube, you must understand, he was playing Bakanga, anything he could play. But when he heard that song, then came Going Back
the song was
to My Roots Reggae music.
Yeah, that's Going
so
Home.
We gave birth
100
to stars.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Kekana, just before he died, he stood on the stage, Bra Sipho was there, and he said to the people, just 2 weeks before he died, You know, I wish he had confessed before. You know, maybe I would earned some royalties. He says, my voice, the little voice, the falsetto voice that I sing, I got it from this guy.
From this brother.
Wow.
You know, so that's how the music of the time, it was not only Bra Sipho throwing knowledge my side, but when we took on our time came, we influenced. You know, you see kids love R&B, South Africa is into America. Pappa and Blondie were in the forefront of taking this American music. Again, Americans owe us royalties for promoting them. We took their style to the masses.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, one thing I've always maintained is that people always talk about this crossover thing, you know, that you've recorded and you crossed over. You know, the very first artist in this country to cross over was this young man at 12 years old. First artist when it was not even considered possible for an African musician to be on white radio.
Right.
Blondie was at 12 the first artist to cross over with a band called the Movers.
Yeah.
Until today,
big up, man.
You know, I always tell people I was not the crossover artist. Nor was Lionel, nor was Richard Johnson, nor was Jonathan Butler.
True that.
Blondie Makhene was there. In fact, on Springbok, which was considered an extreme right-wing radio station, Blondie crossed all that.
See, this is what I love about these conversations, right? Because it's a reclaiming of our history. It's a reclaiming of our stories and making sure that what's been erased and what's been written incorrectly is written in the right.
Yes.
And it's corrected, right? Yeah. And I'm guessing that that's a large part of the concert as well. That
yes, absolutely.
People who are going to be coming to see you perform on the 25th of September are going to be exposed to obviously the music that you've, given us and stuff like that, but the stories behind a lot of the songs and the truth
and the
behind
Caesar contribution.
100%.
You know those stories.
A
lot of people don't. You leave your country while you're making great music to say, I need to liberate myself before I can go back and make music. And I do hope that people would really come and watch Babsy and the all-rounders. Let alone us, people, we've been here. But it's important that there's that kind of interaction between ourselves, the public, and the contribution that some of our colleagues have made in order that Jabulani Amphitheatre is new and it's different.
An iconic venue for iconic individuals.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Eldorado Park, Yella Mensa Daso, every Jelekeno Pappa no Blondie ne. Jelekeno OS, you better be there. Amphitheatre, Soweto Theatre, 25 September.
Indeed.
So,
thank you so
you're welcome.
much.
You're welcome. Everybody come and watch the show. This is going to be a banger.